He gave you a KGB doctored look at why it's okay that he wants to reestablish the Soviet Union. That's what he gave.
Oh, stop it.
Listen, so
like,
what? They're also invading a country right now just for
that
avarice.
Americans are economically so unintelligible that they are going to believe that the threat that we are facing today is Russia trying to reestablish. So this is like Cold War propaganda. We got to move on from that. We just said that it's very obvious that Putin can complete a sentence and that Biden can't.
Yeah,
and
he can complete a sentence. He can also likely murder his opponents. That I'm triggered?
Okay,
I'm not triggered. I got my legs crossed. It means I'm comfortable.
Okay, well, you just seemed a little triggered. You like
I don't like setting up Putin as a model.
I didn't. Nobody here. Everyone is listening to what I said, and I'm gonna not just double down. I'm gonna triple down, quadruple down on the fact.
Man, I've been so excited to do a Candace Owens reaction, and PBD has set this up beautifully. Chris Cuomo, Fredo, former CNN propagandist, up against the highly respected and one of my faves, Candace Owens. Hey fam, welcome and welcome back to One and Done. Man, we have got a beauty today. We're just 3 months in and we're fast approaching the 1,000 subs. Now, if you want to help a brother out, don't forget to hit the like, smash the subscribe, ring the notification bell, spread this video far and wide so we can get to 1,000 subs by the end of the month. I know it's a high goal, but we can do this together. Now let's jump into this video. This video today is with Candace Owens. She's on the PBD Podcast and she is going to be debating Chris Cuomo. Subject matter is Vladimir Putin, Joe Biden, and leadership in general. So without delay, let's jump in.
Picking a metric of what's the guy's IQ is not enough for me. First of all, he did not give you. I'll tell you why. Because it's what do you do with your intelligence? You think he gave you an accurate recitation of Russian history starting in the 8th century because Candace just said so. She's wrong and you're wrong, okay? He did not give you an accurate recitation. He gave you a KGB doctored look at why it's okay that he wants to reestablish the Soviet Union. That's what he gave.
Oh, stop it.
Listen,
Stop
I'm not here to play Russia good, Russia bad, okay?
Russia has a smaller GDP than California.
So what? They're also invading a country right now just for avarice.
Americans are economically so unintelligible that they are going to believe that the threat that we are facing today is Russia trying to reestablish. So this is like Cold War propaganda. We got to move on from that, okay?
But it's just as real now as it was then.
1960s.
And remember, in America, these people are.
Chris Cuomo's just been called out. Candace ain't playing that. She's not going to put up with his nonsense. Chris Cuomo is a word salad master. He says a whole lot of nothing to say absolutely nothing. One thing I've noticed about Chris Cuomo, whenever he is in a situation where he is in a position where he has to argue his points, he sits right on the fence. And he uses 3,000 words of deflection. He tells you absolutely nothing. Now, Candace is a no-nonsense woman. You better bring your A game if you're going to take on Candace, because she is going to make you look like a tool. Now, I've got a feeling Chris is going to help her out here. She's not going to have to do too much work. But she doesn't care who you are, but don't treat her and her audience like a fool because she will make you look stupid.
Allowed to be here right now doing things they could never do in Russia. Never. Nobody can speak out against Putin. He is at over 75% in popularity polls because people know what happens if you answer differently. They make no money. They have no press freedoms. When they try to exercise themselves, even on the internet,
starting to sound like
chased.
America today. Because January 6ers are locked up for wrongthink. You locked up grandmas for expressing their opinions.
That is something to be concerned about.
You are saying that
is something to be concerned about.
That is correct.
Not admired,
freedom of press. You're
but
sitting
used
here,
as a point
they
of
wanted
fear.
to arrest Tucker Carlson for going over to speak to a leader of a country that we are allegedly not at war with. So you're also describing America while you are telling us.
I'm not describing America. I'm describing what America should not be. So be careful about putting up a model of what you think has some value.
Nobody said.
Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Candace definitely isn't propping Putin up for being a saint. She's not putting her hand up and saying, yeah, let's nominate this dude as a saint. No. She's just making observations of what some of his strengths are. And to fully understand your enemy, you have to understand their weakness and strengths. Chris Cuomo struggles to put his emotions aside. He's still got mainstream, liberal, leftist, lunatic media running through his veins. And it's so clearly obvious.
There was a model. We just said that it's very obvious that Putin can complete a sentence and that Biden can't.
Yeah,
and
he can complete a sentence. He can also likely murder his opponents.
See, and now he's got to keep interrupting because he knows he's looking stupid. He's one-dimensional. Candace can walk and chew gum at the same time.
And that's a function of his intelligence also, because it's not guided by any sense of morality. And that matters too. And Tucker making the decision.
Gonzalo Lira was just killed by Zelensky. He's a thug. We shouldn't be supporting Ukraine at all, not a single dollar.
Now, this moral argument, good versus evil, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're in one of these Eastern European countries and you look back at, say, the West, or in this particular situation, the US, you're not going to look at the US for morals. You just aren't. And unfortunately, in the last 3 or 4 years, the US has lost so much credibility. It's become the laughingstock, and the leader, Sleepy Jim Crow Joe, is he is the laughingstock of the world.
Even if that were true, which neither of us know whether it is, then that's a policy argument. Have the policy argument. The idea of good and evil, right and wrong, cheapens it. It cheapens it.
But you just did that.
I'm not doing it. I'm doing the opposite. I'm not triggered. What are you, 19? We're using 19-year-old woke language now that I'm triggered?
He's triggered.
Okay,
I'm not triggered. I got my legs crossed. It means I'm comfortable.
Okay, well, you just seemed a little triggered.
I don't like setting up Putin as a model.
I didn't. Nobody here, everyone is listening to what I said, and I'm going to...
Candace is about to cook. Candace is about to cook. Let me back this up and let her start cooking from the beginning. Cuomo, get ready. Cover your head. You're about to get slapped.
The idea of good and evil, right and wrong, cheapens it. It cheapens it.
But you just did that.
I'm not doing it. I'm doing the opposite. I'm not triggered. What are you, 19? We're using 19-year-old woke language now that I'm triggered?
Okay,
I'm not triggered. I got my legs crossed. It means I'm comfortable.
Okay, well, you just seemed a little triggered.
I don't like setting up Putin as a model.
I didn't. Nobody here, everyone is listening to what I said, and I'm going to not just double down, I'm going to triple down, quadruple down on the fact that it's very obvious to the American people that our leaders are extremely lackluster, and that has been made even more abundantly clear after having watched Tucker Carlson sit across from Vladimir Putin, which was heroic on his part, because we are tired of being propagandized. We are tired of people pretending, if you live in Russia, there's going to be so much propaganda. There's so much propaganda here.
I agree.
Okay, we are suffering from the exact same things that you accuse Vladimir Putin of doing.
I agree.
Locking up people's opponents, right?
But how can she explain this in a short, concise, precise way where you've got to deliver, you say, I agree. All you dished up was word salad and you sat on the fence. You didn't take any position. It was all wish-wash.
I agree. I don't agree with locking up their opponents.
FBI agents showing up on American people's doorsteps because they attended a rally on January 6th. 3 of my friends had FBI agents. They didn't even step foot in the Capitol, okay? Had FBI agents show up because they wanted any person that even showed up to hear Trump speak on January 6th to feel threatened by that, because the establishment said that you weren't allowed to support Donald Trump, okay? So I'm going to speak to how the public is feeling right now. And we are very aware of the fact that Joe Biden could potentially be dead right now, okay? We don't even know, he can barely make it through a sentence. And when we see somebody like Vladimir Putin
is not dead,
able to,
right?
Is what?
You do know that Joe Biden's not dead. And you do know that he wasn't shot up with something before he went out there.
I actually do believe he was shot up with adrenaline before he goes. What do you mean, come on? JFK used to do that.
Come on.
So it's like,
listen,
they obviously are giving him drugs before he speaks.
The truth is enough. And I'll tell you why it becomes problematic, okay? Look, it's a half joke. They shot Biden up with something last night.
It's not a half joke. I really believe that.
Here's what happens. Well, look, if you really believe that, that's fine. It would be just nice to have a basis for it. But yeah, he's going to take a drug test. Okay. Look.
Someone in the audience said he should take a drug test. Damn, imagine what they find in there. Hey, they might find that white powder. You know the white powder they found in the house? White House?
Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen, okay? Just trust me on this, because you've already seen it. You're going to know that it's already true. You are allowing for a BS standard of appraisal. So now...
Intelligence is a BS standard?
It's not intelligent. It's the shooting up part. So now they'll start showing clips of Trump where it seems that he's not speaking fluidly. And they'll talk about whether he's on drugs. And
they did that already.
They will, but that's what you enable with this. I'm saying just stick with the truth.
But Cuomo, oh man, I was about to call him something, but I just held back. See, self-control. They're taking these snippets from 2-hour speeches. They're trying to find snippets where Joe Biden is making sense out of a 3-minute speech. It's the complete opposite. Now they got Joe on some sort of steroid or something. I reckon that's just to move the left foot in front of the right foot and keep the eyelids open. The guy hardly looks like he remembers how to breathe. Now let's not forget, this guy had dementia so bad that they couldn't try him for the documents he took when he doesn't even fall under the Presidential Records Act. So he's cognitively impaired, but he's more than capable of running a country of 330 million people. You can't have both things at once. And what, you reckon they haven't been pumping him or something? Cuomo, come on. And you know what? I love this format because the audience is calling him out in real time. They're seeing right through his mainstream liberal leftist media talking points. I love it. He's getting found out.
Are our leaders performing the way we need them to be? It's a rhetorical question. No. You had in Congress last night, I forget who smacked me with this stat, but it was a great one. 14% popularity for members of Congress, right? That sounds about right. It's somewhere between 12% and 20%, depending on the poll. 94% re-election rate. How do you have such low popularity and such high re-election rate? Because the game is rigged. That's why. Now, the truth is enough, okay? Just stick with the truth. The problem is when you get into these situations of comparing a guy who's just a bad guy with what you want in your own leadership, I don't think it sends you to the right place.
The truth is that Vladimir Putin was able to communicate in a way that was coherent.
Would you want Vladimir Putin to be your president?
This is such a fine statement.
Would you want Vladimir Putin to be your president?
That's not what...
This is tough to watch. Someone needs to throw in the white towel. Cuomo is getting destroyed, and we're not even out of the first round. Someone should have warned Cuomo. You're out of your league, buddy.
What I said...
I'm asking you a question.
That's not what I said.
I'm asking you a question.
No, but you're asking the question because you still cannot deal with the fact that I have accurately described Vladimir Putin as coherent. He is.
There's no question he's coherent. I'm just saying...
Do you think he's smart?
I think he's an intelligent man, yes.
That's all I said. Oh my God, we got there. We can move on. Good.
Listen.
Oh my God, we got there. It's just, that's all I said, right?
But it's about why you're using him as an instruction.
Because
I have sat across from serial killers that are intelligent men. I don't want them deciding my taxes.
Did I say that I wanted Vladimir Putin to decide my taxes?
But why hold him up as an example? Why hold him up as an example?
Because we are talking about
it's like when Trump said Duterte is a tough guy.
Everyone was able to comprehend this, so I'm going to restate it one more time.
One more time.
Okay? We are talking about the State of the Union. I'm talking about the mindset of Americans that understand this is all very performative and the insult to have him up there as if he is the leader of our nation, especially following the interview that we all watched in which Vladimir Putin first and foremost made it clear that he doesn't view our leaders as even leading the country. He views them all as puppets and that he deals,
but you're still using Putin as a positive comparison to who we have. I mean, I don't know what I'm missing in terms of the logic.
This is how I take it.
He is positive because he is not cognitively impaired. He can speak on matters with authority, knowledge, and precise and clear. That's all Candace is saying. Biden cannot do that. He's not capable of doing that. He's not going to get better at it. He's going to get worse every single day. Now, I'm sure Pat's going to bring some common sense back into this conversation because the only one with common sense at the moment is Candace. I gotta admit, this is pretty difficult to watch. I'm gonna want to know what Chris's pronouns are after this because I can't tell.
You are missing.
Chris, this is how I take it from the outside. I take it as I want to know everybody's leader on how they are, how formidable they are, and can mine go up against that leader. If Putin and Biden are in a negotiation table, we're gonna lose. That's all I'm thinking about. So for me, I think about somebody being able to sit up against them to say, hey, you gotta knock it off with this Ukraine stuff. By the way, let's process this in a different way. We had, I don't know who I was having this conversation with. It's like, well, you know what do you think about this and what do you think about that? I said, listen, We have 4 years of data, pure data of what happened under Trump. They can't play that same game as, aren't you afraid that he has access to the button? He's actually one of the 46 people ever who had access to the button and never used it, and there was no wars, right? For 4 years. It was peaceful. We didn't have no Ukraine, nothing, Afghanistan, nothing going on, no Israel, Hamas, nothing going on, right? This guy's here, he's got access to everything for 3 years. What do we have going on? What we did with Afghanistan, they're wearing our uniform now. What happened with Ukraine and Russia, what happened with Israel and Hamas. According to pure data, one doesn't know how to sit across another alpha and say, check yourself, stop, you cannot behave like this again. That's purely how I process the difference between Putin and Biden.
Trump led through strength. Other leaders knew that he meant what he said. Biden exudes weakness. He couldn't lead a poodle up a garden path if you gave him the leash. If you put the leash in his hand, he could not lead that poodle up a garden path. Trump whistle, he'd have half a dozen Rottweilers playing dead at his feet. That's the difference. He led with peace through strength. And he has a track record to prove it. And Patrick brought up some great points there. He's had access to the button. And then Joe Biden got access. And look what's happened. All the chaos that's ensued since. You just can't compare the two.
Sit there and look at Biden and say, man, I can't wait for this guy to go into the boardroom. He's going to crush it in the boardroom behind closed doors negotiating. I say, please don't keep it behind closed doors. I want to see exactly how he's going to be negotiated. He doesn't give you that kind of a confidence.
So there you have it, folks. Candace Owens, she's been on an absolute tear this week. She's been on PBD Podcast. She taught Destiny a new one. And she's also been on Fresh and Fit, schooling some of those 304s on there. But Candace is truly a pro. She is next level. And it's funny, I'm not sure which other mainstream media people I've seen debate, say, a podcaster, especially a podcaster of this level. Candace is right up there. Even Myron from Fresh and Fit gave her props and huge respect. Now we don't see Myron do that much, does he, on Fresh and Fit with the females? But she's earned her respect. And Cuomo got mama bared by Candace, and he was made to look like a little cub. It just wasn't a fair contest. Cuomo sitting on the fence with splinters in his butt. Candace just taking the gloves off and saying, hey, don't play games with me. Cuomo spat out 3,000 words to say nothing. Candace used about 12 words and gave the whole message so concise and articulate. And then you also notice that the audience started to go against Cuomo. Now I understand it. I'll give Cuomo his props for taking on the bull, grabbing the bull by the horns and coming on the PBD podcast. But this audience is used to people being straight shooters. They used to PBD with his clear messaging. So once again, I will give him props for coming on there. But it does show us, it does display to us the difference between the mainstream liberal media, the lunatic lefties, and long-form podcasters, and people like Candace Owens who cannot hide from the facts. She relies on facts. She relies on statistics. Now, this argument today about Putin, it didn't go that deep, but Chris Cuomo got his knickers in a twist. That's why I said, hey, Chris, I need to know your pronouns, because it ain't obvious to me. Candace handled this like an absolute boss. Now, why don't you leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section? I'll jump in there and go through as I normally do. Now, if you want to help a brother out, we're fast approaching 1,000 subs. Help me out by hitting the like, smashing the subscribe, ringing the notification bell. Most importantly, share this video far and wide, and I'll catch you in the next one.